Welcome to Southern Sense Talk Radio with your host, the radio chick, Annie Ubelis. Join Annie on Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time with an open chat room full of her regulars. And yes, you can even call in. Call 917-889-3675. That's 917-889-3675 to be a part of the action on the phone line. Not able to listen live? Not a problem. You can always catch Annie, the radio chick, and Southern Sense Talk Radio podcast in archives at southern-sense.com. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Southern Sense the right way.
Wow, you're here listening to Tuesday. If it's 2 o'clock on the East Coast, it's got to be Southern Sense. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the radio chick, Annie, and you're listening to us live on Blog Talk Radio, High Plains Media, SHR Media, Kinetic Hi-Fi, the Fix FM out of Charleston, South Carolina. I want to welcome you aboard along with my co-host, Curtis C.S. Bennett. Good afternoon, Curtis. How are you?
Down here in Florida.
Curtis, unmute.
Another beautiful day. It's another.
I can hardly hear you, Curtis. You're kind of muffled. You're kind of muffled there, Curtis. Check your connection because it's coming off like you're talking out of the bottom of a roll of paper towels. Oh, here it is, Blog Talk Radio. Figures as soon as we start on the air, something's going to go wrong. Oh, man. And if you're listening to planes in the background, it is the United States Marine Corps and Navy flying over my house from the Marine Corps Air Station. That is the sound of freedom. As we said, you're here listening live to Southern Sense here on Blog Talk Radio, High Plains Media, SHR Media, Kinetic Hi-Fi, the Fix FM out of Charleston. I want to welcome everyone that's coming into the chat room and those that are listening on their smart devices. We've got ourselves a great show lined up. We're going to have Ernie Ricard. He's got a new song out that we're going to be talking about, as well as some new writings of his, and a project that he has on Cube International, LLC. It is going to be great. And that's going to be followed up at the top of the show with Thuy Lowe. She is the Congressional Candidate for Florida's District 10, and she is running unopposed. So if that district goes Republican, she will be the next congressman sitting there in D.C. All right. So we're waiting for Curtis to fix his technical difficulties, and hopefully he will be back with us soon. And those of you that listen to the show know that we start off each and every show with a dedication to a fallen hero. And unfortunately, because of my Navy hymn being messed up by Blog Talk Radio, we're going to try a little bit different background music. So sit back and listen. Today's dedication is going out to San Jose Police Department Police Officer Michael J. Katherman. His end of watch was just 1 week ago on Tuesday, June 14th. And this is from the Mercury News by Robert Salonga. On Tuesday, June 14th, 2016, Dan Sullivan was driving a concrete mixer through an industrial area of San Jose, California, like a lot of days on the job. As he headed south on North 10th Street towards downtown, he heard a big bang and thought someone had hit the back of his truck. Sullivan looked ahead again and saw a cloud of dust appear in the roadway. When the dust cleared, I witnessed a police motorcycle lying on its side, he said. And there in the roadway was a severely injured Officer Michael Katherman. In seconds, Sullivan said he used his 50-foot rig to block traffic and protect him, and rushed to his aid. I was out of my truck in 2 seconds and ran across the street as fast as I could, he said. Another man was with the officer and had commandeered the officer's police radio to call for help. Officer down. He's bleeding bad. He's hurt, not moving. Then the man handed the radio over to Sullivan, who offered more details to dispatchers, including letting them know when other officers got to the scene. Then he assisted first responders as they performed CPR on the officer, who was rushed to the hospital. But Katherman, a 34-year-old married father of 2 young sons, an 11-year member of the force, succumbed to his injuries. He was the 13th San Jose Police Department officer to die in the line of duty, and the second while patrolling on a motorcycle. Katherman was on patrol Tuesday afternoon and riding his police-issued motorcycle northbound on North 10th Street past Heading Street when he collided with a southbound minivan turning left onto Horning Street. On Thursday, Katherman's body was transported from the county medical examiner's office in San Jose to a funeral home in Los Gatos. Sullivan, 52, said he's haunted by the image of what he saw Tuesday. They resonated even more strongly than they would have for most because his younger brother, Michael, is a veteran San Jose police lieutenant. When you see an officer down in the line of duty, it's something I'll never forget, Sullivan said. It happened all so fast. What the police department will never forget is how Sullivan and at least 2 other witnesses sprang into action to help Katherman. The other 2 witnesses have not come forward to speak about the accident. We can't lose sight of the fact that we had residents of the city that didn't just make a call on their cell phones, but physically tried to save his life and picked up his police radio, said Police Chief Eddie Garcia. I am still in awe of that. It was only after the adrenaline subsided and it all sank in that Sullivan finally fully realized what happened, and he thought of what that community had lost. I want to send my condolences to the wife of Officer Mike, which incidentally is what Sullivan would call his own brother, and his kid. An impromptu memorial in front of San Jose Police Department headquarters continues to grow with flowers and messages of sympathy and support being added by residents and officers, many from out of town. And this is by Amy Holefield, ABC News 7. Officers from all over the Bay Area are showing their support for San Jose Police as they mourn one of their own. Outside of the San Jose Police Department stands a special tribute to Katherman, flowers, and the motorcycle he loved to ride. San Jose officers came to work that Wednesday morning with heavy hearts as they faced the first day without Katherman, who was killed when his motorcycle crashed into a minivan Tuesday afternoon. I knew Mike, and he was a liked officer, a hard worker, but you got to come back to work, and the department is real supportive, with San Jose Police Sergeant Gerard Nunez. They have support of other departments, too. A Palo Alto officer left flowers in front of the San Jose Police Department Wednesday morning. And then police chiefs and command staff members from several different law enforcement agencies arrived at the San Jose Police Department to meet with San Jose's command staff. We were all texting last night to put on hold whatever you have going on that day and be here to show support, said Gilroy Police Chief Denise Turner. Investigators say he was traveling north on 10th Street when a minivan turned in front of his motorcycle. He crashed into it and later died at the hospital. Officers and firefighters from different agencies escorted his body to the medical examiner's office. It's a very difficult thing for us as a profession, and it's important for us to show support for the profession and the department and the brave men and women who work here every day to keep their community safe, said Morgan Hill Police Chief David Swing. Officers say this kindness makes a difference. It's nice to see support from the community as well as officers in the department, and everybody's there to help out one another, said Nunez. Officers say support from the community means so much when they see people leaving flowers or lining the streets for the processions. They say they notice. Today's show is dedicated to Officer Michael Katherman. It is also dedicated to all the men and women who are first responders, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, as well as the brave men and women in the military, those that have served, those who are serving, and who will serve. We dedicate this show to them because we never say thank you enough. God bless.
Born in the grip of oppression, I fought for my liberty. I paid with the blood of my people. Freedom has never been free. Now my door's always open to dreamers and friends. When I'm attacked, I protect and defend, because my name is America. I stand proud and free. My name is America. Don't tread on me. I cannot be broken. I cannot be shamed. If you hurt me, I'll get stronger, and I'll rise up from the flames, and I'll always stand proud and free. I'm America, don't tread on me. America is my name. My strength was not taken from others. Others gave it to me. They believe in the virtues I stand for, my respect for humanity. Now I'm challenged by tyrants who envy my power, but their vicious deeds become my finest hour, because my name is America. I stand proud and free. My name is America. Don't tread on me. I cannot be broken. I cannot be shamed. If you hurt me, I'll get stronger, and I'll rise up from the flames, and I'll always stand proud and free. I'm America, don't tread on me. America is my name. For those who need me, I'll always be here. For those who will harm me, I'll face without fear. But I'll always stand proud and free. I'm America, don't tread on me. I'm America, yes, America is my name. It's my
God, Alan Herrington, my name is America. And of course, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. Just as we were reading the dedication, my headset died. So I am now using a backup headset. So if I'm not hearing too well, well, just give me a break here. You're here listening to Southern Sense here on Blog Talk Radio, High Plains Media, SHR Media, Kinetic Hi-Fi, The Fix FM out of Charleston, South Carolina. And just a reminder, the show is still sitting at number 16 out of the top 100 on TopTalkRadio.com. Check it out. Also, check out our website, which is the name of the show, put a dash in the middle, southern-sense.com. Become a member. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the radio chick, who's a little upside down today, along with my great, my intellectual, my oh-so-handsome and tall co-host, Curtis C.S. Bennett. Curtis, are we ready to do this today?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now. You're still like a little muffled, but we can hear you a lot better. I don't know what happened there because you were clear when we were doing the pre-show check, but something happened on us here. Thanks a lot, BTR.
Maybe I'm still up in the clouds from my visit this past weekend up in your territory. It was such a great visit. I really enjoyed myself.
Oh, well, you're going to come up again soon. And it was fun having you here in the studio. So that's two co-hosts I've actually had sitting in the studio with me, you and Cool Mike. And you and Cool Mike are going to be doing the show on Friday together.
Yeah. Yeah, that ought to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you're going to have Clarence McGee. I don't know who Mike has lined up beyond that, but the two of you just work it out and let me know.
Well, I asked my friend George Farrell if he, wanted to join us, so he may just pop in.
Well, George is going to be here in Beaufort, South Carolina in September.
Yeah.
He will be here at the GOP monthly meeting. So, hey, it's going to be fun to meet him finally face-to-face in person. And we do have a great show lined up. We're waiting for our guests to call in. If you should be calling in any second now, Curtis. Maybe you can send him a text message or something to remind him to give us a call. We've got a lot to talk about. I mean, there's so much that's been going on. And just a little while ago, it came across the wires that some clown from England, from your cousin over there, Cal, who's in the chat room, attempted to do an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And guess what? It's very possible he was an illegal alien. Oh, and I see some people in the chat room saying that they don't see the Skype item option in the show, but I did Skype in myself. So maybe you can do it directly from Skype if you've got the BTR number on your Skype app. And that's how I did it. I just clicked on the Skype app and went through. Anyway, but there's this guy out there from England, came over, overstayed his visa, and has been planning for the last year to assassinate Donald Trump. And what does this brain surgeon do? He goes to the event, gets behind a police officer, and attempts to take his firearm from him. Genius. I don't know what to say. Anyway, it seems like I'm here alone. I may have lost Curtis again. Curtis, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm getting
ready
to
Curtis.
contact. I'm getting ready to contact Ernie.
Contact our guest. Okay, great. Yeah, and Sasquatch. Yes, it was visa overstay, and I didn't print it out, but there is someone out there that has a copy of the warrant for his deportation. So we're going to see what's going on here. We're waiting for Ernie Ricard to call us and get back with us, but there's so much else going on. Hillary Rodham Clinton did a speech just a little while ago, and oh my God, I don't know if anyone else caught that, but I had the barf bag on my lap as she was going on and on and on, and she was, of course, attacking Donald Trump, and she was saying something about, would you want a man in that office that doesn't have the temperament? And I looked at my husband and I says, do you remember flying ashtrays in the Clinton White House and the Clinton black eye on Bubba? So I don't know if she should be talking about having a nasty temperament, if she's the right person that should be talking about a nasty temperament. Oh, man, it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing the stuff that is going on out there. And there's more and more information coming in about these this jihadist in or the Orlando nightclub, the Pulse. More and more information is coming out about that, and they were going to release the 911 transcript, and Loretta Lynch said, no, we're going to scrub it. We're going to take out any references to Islam and people's names. And after the uproar, they said, oh, well, we'll release the transcript. We're going to go ahead and release the transcript, and we'll put everything back in it. But, and here's the major but, when you read the transcript, and I was not, again, able to get the full transcript. If someone has the transcript out there, please put it up in the chat room. But in the transcript, they interpreted all the Islamic phrases into English. So where he called into 911 and said Allahu Akbar and swore allegiance to ISIS and Anwar al-Awlaki, they scrubbed that all out, and it says God in there. No. He said he didn't do this for God. He said it's Allahu Akbar. He did it for Allah. He did it for Islam. But no, they did it again. And they whitewashed it so it doesn't look like it's those evil, shall we say it, Muslim terrorists? Curtis, we back. Okay.
Yeah, he's on.
And we're trying again. Okay, let's bring him on as I go and ramble on. And I want to welcome aboard Ernie Ricard. How are you doing, Ernie?
Just fine. I was listening to part of your program, and I really enjoyed it, and the song America was great.
Well, actually, Todd Allen Harrington hails from northern Florida. He's down there. You Florida guys do produce some great music, and Todd Allen happens to be a good friend of mine. And I'm trying to get him back on the show, but between his touring and everything else, especially with this presidential race going on, he ends up going to a lot of events. Hopefully we'll get you to do that, too.
We'll see. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, even called in on any talk show. So I got your email.
We'll
got your email about how is a politician like a poet or a writer, and I wrote a little summary here. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I think a true writer or poet and the politician have a calling. The good ones create out of the heart. You feel the spirit and message of caring and love, and it reaches to your very soul. They consider themselves a servant to help others and make a better world. They example light and truth. The result is life, peace, and joy. The bad or evil ones, the heart is turned cold and hard. Their interests are in self and physical gain through lies and deceit and war. The result is fear, death, darkness, hate, and anger. Both have a following. Man loves darkness rather than light. And an example out there is Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
That is really fantastic. That is really, really fantastic. You know, and we're talking about Donald Trump. I don't get this. You've got two choices. You got someone that has the business acumen. He's got the skills to pare down where waste is. All right. You may not agree with everything he says and does, and you sometimes may question where he's coming from. I get that. But we also have someone with a proven record. A woman who is proven to be corrupt from the days of Whitewater. Actually, no, from the days of the Nixon impeachment when she got fired for lying about evidence she had against Richard Nixon. So we know from the 1970s this woman has been corrupt, and she has proved it over and over and over again. The Travelgate scandals, Vince Foster scandals, all the way up through getting contributions from Chinese nationals that didn't even live in the United States, that were not citizens of the United States. You know, now we've got the Clinton Foundation where all the corruption's coming through there. How about 13 dead in extortion 17? How about Benghazi with Ambassador Stevens and those two other men murdered because of her, because of what she hasn't done? And now she's running here for president. She's under investigation for the email server and security leaks. So what do you choose? Someone that you know is corrupt, or someone that maybe because of public pressure we can control?
That's true. I wrote another little thing about both the poet and the politician lead others by words. The words, you know, caused Eve to sin, the first sin. And then the Word is the most powerful tool or weapon known to man. And I wrote another poem. Would you like to hear it? It's called War.
Sure, go ahead.
Will wars ever end? One stops and others begin. Has war ever been right? What makes a man fight? Wars among nations, clan against clan. Wars within nations, man against man. Wars within the heart, joy and strife. Wars within the family, husband and wife. Leaders make promises. People have hope. More law is the answer. What a joke. Love is the only way to win. All must change from within. Love your neighbor is where to begin. The wages is peace. Then war will end. Love is always there to lend a hand. All must mount that rock and stand. Only with the heart can we see through the dark. Love is the only way we can meet our mark. Love, love, love let it be. It is the only answer for you or me.
Okay, now, Curtis, you have a question for Ernie. Go ahead.
Ernie, you were a firefighter, and I was just curious, what were your thoughts on 9/11 when you first heard about the attack? And would you have done anything different if you were there as a first responder?
First thoughts, I couldn't believe it. I was watching, TV that morning at home, and when I heard a plane had hit the tower, flags went up, and then when the second...
Did we lose Ernie?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of... Okay, but I knew we were in trouble. And usually buildings of that size and everything, they're built to take the heat and the fire. And I would have been right there with them too. It should not have come down. And it's been my hope that one day, I designed a 9/11 commemorative coin, and it's been my hope that one day I'll get a sponsor that'll sponsor me to go to New York and present ever fallen firefighters' family, one of those 9/11 commemorative challenge coins.
That sounds good, and I'm sure they would appreciate that. We have to get you a sponsor. Wow. So tell us, as a firefighter, what stands out the most as far as some of the events you were involved in?
Well, they never talk about police officers or firefighters having PSD or everything, but when you're called in on some very bad scenes and everything, and you always relate it to maybe a family member or something like that, and some of those times I still think about today. But if people just knew what a service they had within police officer and firefighter, we may be off the clock, but we're never off duty, because you learn to love the job and the people that you serve. And I've saved lives, off duty because of training that I had. And that's about all I have to say on that.
It is very true. that you're never off duty. It's always part of your blood because on 9/11, I was here in South Carolina, retired, and as it was unfolding, I'm describing to my husband the tactics that we used, and I explained to him that just prior to my retirement in '96, the fire department had taken in EMS and became part of their service. And I was explaining how the trucks would be there on the plaza, and as it's unfolding, I says, they can't move anyone because they're triaging them, but those towers are going to come down. I mean, I was there on duty on the day in February 1993 when the towers were bombed the first time. And I remember everyone running out the door to respond to that. And as it happened the second time, I says, they know what they're doing. This time they're coming down. And I was in tears. And you're right about PTSD. I mean, to this day, if I get a sharp sound behind me, I jump. I mean, if someone comes up on me suddenly and I'm unaware, I jump. And my husband does it to me in my own house.
Ann, are you a firefighter?
No, NYPD.
Oh, okay. Okay. But, you know...
So I knew that area very, very well.
Yeah, that to me, you know, is one of the best employees that the taxpayer has, because they may be off the clock, but they're never off duty. That's just one of my slogans. And same thing with our military that's returning home. They would not hesitate in the slightest, you know, to protect the homeland. Our military people are just great, and that's another thing. There's a silent army out there that is not saying a thing, but all of our military personnel and the oath that they still keep dear to their hearts today. In a New York minute.
I've got an oath keeper. I've got an oath keeper sticker on the back of my car, and it's a huge SUV. So they are left.
That's it.
You've got some great poems that you've written, and one of them is My Dream. Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay. Late one night, I had a dream. It came into my room like a beam. I saw a great round table, like one right out of a fable. Around sat politicians from hell, so my dream I have to tell. From this table bellowed smoke. All of a sudden, Obama spoke. Our time is short. We need a plan, one that will deceive all man. The first stood up from his seat with a plan of great deceit. We'll tell them the Bible is just a lie, and Jesus Christ did not die. Then Obama screamed, that's not enough. I need a plan with just the right stuff. Then the second stood and began to shake. With this plan, it's a piece of cake. Garble, there's nothing wrong with sin. Just be politically correct, and you'll always win. Obama roared and began to hiss. I need a plan with just the right twist. Then the third began to speak. Here's a plan that's not too weak. I'll talk about slavery and the past. Their patriotism and faith won't last. Again, Obama would roar. I need a plan with much, much more. Then the fourth, but not the least, stood to speak his piece. I have a plan that will not fail. We'll have America right by the tail. I'll hit them with procrastination, and we'll reap total devastation. I'll give them the perfect line. I'll tell America there's plenty of time. Then Obama said, that's the plan. Now, media, go out and deceive all you can.
Hey,
I
that's
got a
great.
question
Hey, Ernie.
on this one. Oh, hang on a second, just a second, Curtis, because I have this one written down. On this one, I was going to ask you, if you wrote this today, after what happened this past week, Would you write it differently? Would you add in anything to it now?
About the dream?
Yeah.
Well, the dream is the United Nations round table, and the four that speak are from the four corners of the earth that are speaking. There's nowhere that I know of that anyone could stand the way that Donald Trump has stood without God backing him, because everybody has come against him. And the scripture says the first and last trump, will sound. Why in the world do we have a man at this point in history in America that we have a man running by the name of Trump? I don't have all the answers, but it sends chills, thinking of how God is still reaching out to America.
Oh, yes, it is true. Now, Curtis, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to get that question in right after the poem. So go ahead with your comment.
Ernie, that I'm a writer, you know that well.
Uh-huh.
I want to ask you, as a writer, when do you do your best work? When are you inspired the most during the day? And how do you come about connecting your poems to situations that's happening around us?
It depends on circumstances and things, and it's like a spirit wakes me up at 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's like I'm fed. This stuff doesn't come from me. It just passes through me. And, I even read some of it and wonder, how in the world did I write that? And so, now my wife, she asked me one time, she says, you write all these poems and everything, but you never have wrote me one. I said, well, honey, I don't just sit and write. And but then I started dwelling on that, and then 3 o'clock one morning, I wrote a poem to her called Soulmate, because I almost lost her twice, once in a head-on collision, and then when we moved to the river here, she went in full cardiac arrest. And so then I wrote this poem, Soulmate, and I have that. Y'all don't have it listed, but I'll be glad to share it with you if you'd like.
That'd be fine. And as people listen, they can think of their other significant other and enjoy it.
Okay. Well, it was... She's my second. I was married for almost 10 years and divorced, had 2 beautiful twin girls, and I had swore that never again would I commit so that, I could be hurt. And but Brenda was patient and everything. And 11 years later, I asked her to marry me. And it goes like this. When I saw you for the first time, I felt your heart reaching for mine. You were something special I could feel. I did not know if my feelings were real. I tried to tell myself, put off and wait, but you knew from the start I was your soulmate. I loved you, but was afraid to trust. Your love was patient, never in a rush. My body and soul stepped out on faith. I realized we were one. I was your soulmate. As time passed, I found ways to love you, ways I never knew existed, only to a few. As time and the seasons passed by, we laugh and sometimes cry. My dear sweet love, I love you so strong. I know we're a match. My heart is never wrong. Life has not always give its best, but together we have stood its test. Sometimes we walked side by side. Sometimes we couldn't, and we cried. We are one, and together we are strong. We are soulmates, right or wrong. When we're apart, I can bring you near with a thought, and I know our meeting was not for naught. There's no doubt, my love, you are my soulmate. For you to pass beyond the veil, I cannot contemplate. Virtue lasts forever, and our meeting was fate, but forever only has hope if I am one with my mate. I will love you forever in this life and the next. That's so.
Wow.
Hey,
that
was
is
sentimental.
absolutely beautiful.
And
that was absolutely beautiful. You've written a lot of great poems, and one of them I came across, it was kind of like fortuitous. It's called Our Flag. And I don't know if anyone knows about an incident that occurred recently. There's a Master Sergeant, Oscar Rodriguez, and he does this flag ceremony, and he does the original flag ceremony. And his buddy was retiring. So his buddy asked him to do the flag ceremony, the very same one he has done all the time. But I want you to what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the actual flag ceremony that he's doing, and then I want you to read your poem, Our Flag, and I want to tie the two of them in, because this is a problem that we have. We're afraid to say the word God in public. We're afraid to wear the flag. If you wear it to school, you're sent home. We're told to turn your shirt inside out. If you proudly display it, you're called a bigot or racist. You've got Mexicans that come and immigrate here, either legally or illegally, say they're offended by the American flag, and yet they would wave the Mexican flag. They will burn the American and wave the Mexican. We're finding so many people trying to destroy our faith in God, as well as our love and honor and respect for our American flag, which was created under God. So let me play the flag folding ceremony first. Oh, I got no sound. Just bear with me while I try to fix this. I don't know why I have no sound. No, that's not right. I'm showing that I got sound up here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This one that I have is a work in progress. I have not finished it, but I went ahead and made it part of some of the things that I've done. I wrote it in 1989. And you want me to wait till you play the flag ceremony?
No, I'll let you read your poem while I try to figure out what the heck went wrong here. I know what went wrong. I actually hit the wrong button on my soundboard.
Okay.
It helps if I hit the right one. So I got to go back here just a little bit, and here we go.
Our flag is known as the Stars and Stripes. The Union consists of white stars on a blue field, symbolic of a new constellation. Each star represents one individual state, and together they stand united, indivisible. The stripe represents the original 13 colonies that declared their independence from Great Britain in 1776. The unofficial, red, is symbolic for the blood of those who have given their lives to defend and protect our great nation from all of our enemies, both foreign and domestic. White represents purity, innocence, and hope. Blue is for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. But in our hearts, our flag stands for many things, evident in the Declaration of Independence, where all men are created equal, with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right of the people to alter or abolish any form of government that becomes destructive. Our flag stands for the Constitution of the United States of America. Freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech. It provides for security to all of our citizens. It also provides for a fair and swift trial. It abolished slavery, and it gives each and every individual of age the right to participate in our voting process, to have a say in his or her future. Our flag is a beacon recognized around the world to represent freedom during times of peace, or during times of war. This is what we live for. This is what we will fight for. And if necessary, to touch the head of God in her defense. The charge that we accept as soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines is a noble one, for there is no heart stronger than that of a volunteer. Let us pray that God will reflect with admiration the willingness of one nation in her attempt to rid the world of tyranny, oppression, and misery. It is this one nation under God that we call, with honor, the United States of America. God bless our flag. God bless our troops. God bless America.
That awesome? Now that
Amen.
Was Master Sergeant. Yeah, that was Master Sergeant Oscar Rodriguez, and people can Google it and pull it up on YouTube. And when he did the ceremony for his buddy out in California, a bunch of airmen jumped up, physically accosted him, and ejected him from his friend's retirement ceremony.
Why?
That is because he said the word God. The moment he said the word God, they jumped up and physically ejected him from his friend's retirement ceremony. The very friend that asked him to recite that exact ceremony. That's why I want to tie it in with your poem, The Flag, because when I was reading this, and that's when Curtis sent me over your poems, and I picked up, and I'm looking and I'm saying the first one I picked up was Our Flag. And if that wasn't God talking to me to say that I got to bring you and Sergeant Rodriguez into the same conversation, I don't know what is.
Well, even when we retire the flag, the way it's finally folded is the heavens, the blue and the stars, and that's the way we retire our flag. And the blood and everything else is folded inside under the heavens. And America has never been a conquering army. They have always gone to the underdog, or the ones that were, wanting to be free. And we've risked, lives and shed blood in other countries for their freedom. And but like I said, this one is not finished. It's one that I had started on, but I'll be glad to read it to you. And I started it from its conception. And when Betsy started the design, she looked to the heavens for divine guidance and inspiration. She was given royal blue from God's throne. She dotted it with stars to represent every state. Then he gave her pure white to represent purity, truth, and strength. This was a beautiful dream, but she knew this would not be free or without cost. So she striped it, colored it red, the price to be paid, red for the blood that had been shed and to be shed. 7 stripes, a beginning and the end. If America ever loses sight of its basic rights as a free people, or fail to make a stand in the face of an untruth or unjust situation, not only America will fall, but the world. Burn it, never. And
Amen. Amen. And this is what we have to bring up in our children now today, because we've got the progressive left educating them, teaching them hatred, teaching them multiculturalism instead of the melting pot that is the United States. And they don't even stand up to pledge allegiance anymore in school. Oh, God forbid you pledge allegiance to the very country that is giving you free education, free medical care, free housing, free Obama phones, free internet, free this, free that, and allows you to spew whatever you want as freely as you want. God forbid that you end up doing honor to that very nation that has allowed you to act like an idiot as much as you want.
And it's our fault for not.
Angry, Ernie.
It does, and it's our fault for not standing up to what's right. You know, it's just, I've got a little saying, one thing you don't do is step on Superman's cape when he takes off. You know, there's consequences. And our freedom should not be our weakness, and that's where they're hitting us. You know, there's certain things you have a right to do and certain things you don't have a right to do. And this is one nation under God. And the reason that our forefathers did not establish a national religion, and it's my opinion, is that we have a choice, and as a free people to choose, we can choose to be part of God's family or not be. And if we choose to be, then it doesn't matter where you come from, like you was just talking about, the melting pot. You know, we all become the family of God, and that's why we call one another brothers and sisters. It's a simple truth. And I tell people, you know, when God reached down to our Mother Earth and he formed that body, that's one part of which we'll all return to one day. And there's a race of people to represent every color of dirt on this earth. But then he gave it a very special gift, free will, that we could choose to be part of that family or not to be.
Well,
Yeah.
Ernie, what
All right, Curtis, we're down to our last. Curtis, hang on a second, because we've got just a few minutes left, and I really do want to get his music in here. Because, Curtis, you sent me a great song, Carry the Torch, because I see Thuy is already sitting on the line waiting for us. So let me play the song, and I'm gonna say something, because I don't know who did the orchestration on it. Did you do all that and the recording?
No, I sent away and had it done and everything.
It's very well done.
Well, thank you. And one thing, if we have time, or maybe I could do it some other time, I designed and wrote a poster, and it's called Welcome Home. It's geared for the Vietnam soldier. He has never been officially welcomed home. And if we have time, I'd like to read that. It'd take a couple minutes.
All right, well, I got Thuy on the line, so I don't want to leave her too much, because I know she's out there campaigning, so I don't know what her schedule is. But the song Carry the Torch, I'm going to make a comment. You know the singer and actor Ed Bruce?
No, I don't believe I do.
Do you know him? I don't mean personally, but if you know of his work, the very last Maverick TV series, he was the sidekick. I forget what the heck his name was. Guthrie was the name he played in the very last Maverick that they did in the 2000s or something like that. And he did the theme song for it, as well as, you know, he's famous for his albums and everything else. And the moment I heard you singing, it brought Ed Bruce to mind. So that is a very high compliment. He's a very well-known country singer. Let me play your song.
Okay, I think Carry the Torch would be Donald Trump's theme song, and I have the torch and everything.
Well, this is Ernie Ricard, Carry the Torch. And
thank you, Ann.
And it's not play. Oh, come on, hit play. There we go.
Down, but I believe we can turn this around. With all her greatness that freedom can supply, Take that away, I'm afraid America will die. The sacrifices our people gave can't be in vain. Not as long as we're all willing to give the same. So carry the torch for everyone to see. Together we can save our liberty. Brothers and sisters, it's up to us. Take her back, in God we trust. Rescue freedom from this prison where we all are bound. Join with me, America, we can turn it around. So here we stand in tyranny, we're face to face. The last battleground is the voting place. Through the mountains, through the prairies, we march on and on. We won't abide anymore what we all know is wrong. So carry the torch for everyone to see. Together we must save our liberty. Brothers and sisters, it's up to us. Take America back, in God we trust.
The flag is burning, freedom is fading, our country is crumbling down. Join with me, America, we can turn it around.
So carry the torch for everyone to see. Together we must save our liberty. Brothers and sisters, it's up to us. Take America back, in God we trust.
Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on.
All right, that's Ernie Ricard. I want to thank Ernie for joining us. Ernie, I'm going to leave you here in case you want to ask any questions with our next guest, and let's welcome aboard Thuy Lowe. She is running for Congress out of Florida District 10. Welcome back to the show, Thuy.
Good afternoon, Ann. Thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon to Curtis and Ernie as well.
Hey.
Go ahead, Curtis. I know I'm cutting you off today, left and right. Go ahead.
Hey, Thuy.
I
don't know if you can still hear me clear, but let me know.
Okay. Last time we had you on, you were running for District 5, but because of some sort of a lawsuit, you ended up shifting over to District 10. Tell us about that.
Did I talk to you when I was a candidate for CD5? I thought it was after that. I thought we talked when I was working with Niger Ennis with a project that we had up there in Pensacola, All Lives Matter project. So did we get a chance to talk about CD5 at all?
I don't think so. I don't remember. I honestly, it was a while ago. But now you're running unopposed. Curtis?
I think we touched on it a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, so So as all of you know, I was a candidate for CD, and CD5 was it was a district that was gerrymandered district that ran from Jacksonville to Gainesville and all the way down to Orlando. So when I ran in that district in 2014, and so I've learned a lot from that campaign. And so in 2015, with a lot of encouragement from friends and family and supporters, I declared my candidacy again back in May. And May of 2015, that was here. And then July of 2015, the Florida Supreme Court decided that they were going to redistrict the whole map, the Florida map. And District 5 and District 10 were named in the lawsuit by the League of Women Voters because they claimed that it was illegally drawn to support a candidate or candidates. So they found that it was illegally drawn, and so in December of 2015, the legislature approved the brand new district. And so during that time, I suspended my campaign, and I wasn't going to run again until about a month and a half ago when Daniel Webster, a sitting representative here in CD10, decided that he is going to run for CD11 because CD10 is now a minority-majority Democrat-leaning district. So he has abandoned that. So now CD10 is an open seat. I'm the only Republican candidate right now that has qualified to be on the ballot. There is another gentleman from Jacksonville that he put his name in the hat about a month ago because he didn't realize that there was somebody running in CD10. He didn't realize that I was a Republican candidate in CD10. So he put his name in the hat. I'm not sure if he's going to continue with his campaign or not. And qualifying qualifying period will end this week, actually this Friday, June 24th. So we'll see if I'm going to be the only Republican candidate running against, one of the Democrat nominee in November. So
my fingers are crossed for you.
Yeah, this is
my fingers are crossed.
Well, thank you, and a lot of prayers. A lot of prayers.
Is your primary? I'm sorry. Is your primary next Tuesday?
No, the primary is not until August 30th. So I don't know if I'm going to have a primary or not. So we'll see by the end of this week if I will have a primary.
Okay. Because I'm seeing that you're also a delegate to the National Convention that's going to go on for the Republicans in Cleveland. And I got some questions about that.
I am. It's a very exciting opportunity, for me to be selected in the old CD5 because I lived in the old CD5. So I was selected by the CD5 caucus to go to Ohio and Cleveland next month. So it's part of it's one of the lists on my bucket list, that I have to go to the Republican National Convention. Yeah, so I'm thrilled. I'm just thrilled.
Well, it's great because I went to my county convention, then I ended up going to the state convention. And, when Matt Moore, who happens to be the GOP chair for South Carolina, was doing the instructions, he was saying that the rules are going to say that delegates are bound on the first round of votes. And that's how I understood it. Is that how you understand it, or are you hearing something different in the rules that the delegates will not be bound on the first round?
Oh, absolutely. The delegate, especially for Florida, because Donald Trump won Florida. So in the first round, Donald Trump will be getting all of the support from Florida. And from what I understand, and there's a couple of things that's going on right now. I think there's a couple Republican organizations I think one is in Utah, I believe, or I could be wrong, or maybe it was Arizona. But somebody in the West right now is challenging the rule of the convention and whether they need to vote for Donald Trump for the second round and the third round. But he got the nominee. I mean, Donald Trump, whether you're supporting Donald Trump or not, he got the nominee. He meets the number that required to be nominated. So therefore, I that it should be a smooth sailing. But I guess we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, because I understood it that after the first round, if he did not become the nominee, which he will be because he's got it by 305 votes already. So whatever he does in any other state, it really doesn't matter because there's no way any other candidate that is still on the ticket, even though they've suspended their campaign, there's no way anyone else can exceed the number of delegates he has. So he's got the number he needed, 1,237 plus 305 above board. So on that first round, he is the nominee. So why would you even want to pay attention to the rest of the primaries? You really don't need to because he's it. So that's why it confuses me when you hear people go, it's going to be a contested convention. No, you can't violate the bylaws, can you, Thuy? What happens if you were to turn around and say, well, I know what they told me who I had to vote for. What if you decided to break the rules and vote for someone else?
I don't know why you would want to do something like that. I mean, we are, well, I don't know if I want to say the word bound, but, ethically, we're supposed to support our nominee, right? And clearly Donald Trump is the nominee. I mean, he met the required number of delegates to be the nominee. And so there should not be any dispute on who should be the Republican nominee. And if we are to unite the party, we need to support Donald Trump. And I'm saying this is because, whether Donald Trump is the guy that you choose at the first round, when you in the primary or not, that's not the point. The point is you have a candidate right now that have met the required number of delegations, or delegates. So he needs to be the nominee. Otherwise, you would just tear the Republican Party and divide the Republican Party.
Yeah, as I understand it, if someone were to go beyond the rules and break them, I would understand that their vote as a delegate would then be negated. If he voted for someone like Cruz, that Cruz vote would be negated and it will be assigned to Trump because, as the bylaws, Reince Priebus said this, Matt Moore backed it up at our convention, that they are bound by the first round, and should he not get the necessary 1,237, then the delegates are then unbound and they can then cross over. We had a lot of delegates in our convention that said, well, yes, we have to vote for Trump, I agree, but on the second vote, I'm voting for Cruz. We had a lot of the delegates say that flat out.
And Curtis and Ernie, can I read something to you that was posted on Facebook by Peter Feeman? And I don't know if you know who Peter Feeman is. He is the RNC chair for the state of Florida. Okay, so he posted something in reference to the delegation here. He said, I continue to receive reports that delegates at the RNC convention are unbound and can vote for whomever they please. This position is being put forth by North Dakota National Committeeman Curly Hoagland. I have a multiple-page letter from RNC General Counsel refuting all of these points he tries to make about RNC rules and that the delegates are unbound to the convention. Without burdening all of you with his entire opinion, below is the conclusion of the General Counsel. So, quote, unquote, Curly, I appreciate your concern and your passion for our rules. However, your interpretation of those rules is counter to the interpretation of every General Counsel and Chief Counsel of the RNC for the past 20 years. Thuy, along with our staff, have worked hard over the years to serve the RNC and fairly interpret the rules. The Council's office and its staff will continue to do so. We respectfully disagree once again. So I hope that gives you a little comfort of what the delegates now are bound to do at the National Convention.
I'm glad you did that. You read that. Go ahead, Ernie.
I think the people has spoken. Donald Trump has got more votes than anyone ever in a primary, and that is the people's choice, and that should be radiated through the Republican Party. If the Republican Party turns their back on the people, and the people has voted for Donald Trump, and they should get in line and do their job. And back Donald.
I agree with you, Ernie. And Thuy, I'm glad that you read that legal opinion, because there's so much information out there, and I think the more people try to confuse everyone else and possibly even the delegates, the more there's going to be a divide within the Republican Party. These are the rules. This is what you, Thuy, will be doing when you're there in Cleveland. This is what I, in my state convention, voted for you to do. The rules have been set. And that's it. You can cry in your coffee as much as you want. You can say, because Paul Ryan is the chair of the convention, he can change the rules. No, he cannot. The rules are the rules, and that's it.
That's it. That he cannot. And so I don't think Ryan is going to do anything, any such thing, because he knows it's important. I mean, common sense tells us that we need to do the right thing here, regardless of who you voted for. And I'm not saying that I supported Donald Trump in the primary, but what I'm saying right now is that I will support Donald Trump only because he is clearly the party nominated him to be the presumptive
nominee. Yeah.
Presidential candidate. So we just get over it. Those who don't like the fact that he is now presumptive nominee, get over that fact and just join the party, because together we can make a bigger difference. Because why fight now? Wait till he gets in office and we join together and we can share ideas and our visions together and work as a party. I just don't get all of this fighting within the party at the moment. It makes us look like we're weak and we're laughing stock of the world, actually. So I encourage all of those folks out there who's still on the edge and who's still on the fence. I mean, look at Donald Trump's background. Don't let his narrative during his Republican primary campaign make your decision. Look at his background. Look at the people that he supported. I mean, he supported immigrants. He supported, and he actually, he even crossed over and donated to Hillary and the other folks. So.
That's because Hillary could be bought.
Well, I mean, but
I got another.
But the point here is, I'm not here to take on Hillary because, we don't have the time to do that. But I'm here to tell the people that, hey, Donald Trump, background. Look at how passive he is. And yes, I think his tone and his narrative need to be toned down a little bit. Now it's time for him to be himself, right? I mean, he wasn't one of my favorite person initially, but when I got a chance to meet him down in Mar-a-Lago right after he won the primary, and I got a chance to watch him because his table was right next to ours at a fundraiser down in Mar-a-Lago, and I watched him and I watched his behavior because I thought to myself, if this person is potentially going to be the Republican nominee, presidential nominee, can I possibly support him? And my answer and what I've seen is, yes, I would support him because his actions speaks louder than words. I mean, there's a lot of humility towards him and or about him, and he needs his time for him to project that. I think he'll do well. So look at Donald Trump.
Well, you know what I found is that I've had friends over the years that are good friends with his, you know, because we gather every year at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention up in Myrtle Beach. And, you know, he's come to our conventions a few times, especially the last one. And every last one of them says when you meet him, he's willing to listen to what you say. Not so much that he wants everyone else to hear what he says. He does the opposite.
Right.
He listens, and then he uses what he hears.
Right.
We agree with that.
Absolutely.
Now, Thuy, I'm going to change subject. I want to change subjects here just a little bit because part of your district covers Orlando, and we had this horrific attack 2 Sundays ago. And I'm sure it impacted, you know, a lot of people that you know in the area. And right after the attack, the first things out of the left's mouth was weapons of war, gun control, and then no one wants to say the word Islamic jihadist or Islamic terrorism. You know, should you get yourself into Congress, what would you do to change that message?
You know what? It's still a somber mood down here in Orlando, and or here in Central Florida as well. Actually, the incident where it happened is right smack dab in District 10. So it is in my backyard, and, you know, I grew up in the area. I grew up in Orlando when our family came to this country back in 1975. Orlando was our first home. We bought our first home there. And so, so Orlando is my hometown, and it's saddened that something like this happened in my backyard. I'm saddened that we have lost so many people, 59 people, including 50 people, including the terrorists. But it is, you know, you have to call it at what it is. It was a terrorist attack, and someone that was has been connecting with or investigated by the FBI for sympathizing with ISIS and the Islamic terrorists. It is a terrorist attack, and so we have to call it like what it is. Unfortunately, the left has been hijacking, you know, this attack and use that as a gun issue. It is not a gun issue because when you look at the Boston bomber, you know, you don't say, oh, well, it was, you know, a gun issue. It was not a gun issue then because, that terrorist those two didn't use guns. And then look at 9/11. You know, the attack on American soil, they use airplanes. So you can't say that, because it was so easy for people to get guns that now they're using, that gun is an issue and therefore we need to ban guns or make it more difficult. And all they're doing is they're eroding our constitutional rights, our Second Amendment, our right to bear arms. And so it is a narrative that they're gravitating towards. I mean, they're taking this opportunity to expand their opinion about gun control, to push for gun control. And that's what they did. They hijacked what really happened and used that as a gun control issue.
Well, the problem is not the weapon of choice they use. The problem is the ideology that's behind these weapons of choice. Now, of recent, Governor Scott of Florida has been given a cold shoulder by Obama during this Orlando massacre. As a Florida congresswoman, how would you go about letting the president know he is in the wrong for not calling the governor first and for not telling the governor what refugees are being sent to Florida? That's another issue as well.
Well, you know what? I'm not just going to tell Obama that he's wrong. I'm going to push my support for my vision through actions. I can't believe that the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice have fail us. I mean, if I was going to blame anyone, I would blame Obama for this incident, this terrorist attack in Orlando, because under his administration, the FBI did not connect with, all the information with the state. There was clearly that this individual was interviewed 2 or 3 times, and during 4 years period, and then between that, they know that he's also sympathetic towards Boston bombers. He's also sympathetic towards ISIS, and we knew this, but they did not want to connect the dots, and they did not want to share the information with the state. So when this individual went and purchased weapons, of course, he followed the rules. He applied to get permits and all of that stuff. Well, the state didn't have anything to flag him on, therefore they have to submit to his constitutional rights and allow him to have allow him to purchase the weapon, and then give him a pass to purchase a weapon or weapons. I blame it on the FBI, and I also blame it on the Department of Homeland Security for taking the funding off from Orlando. They took a year ago, last year, they took Orlando off the terrorist watch list, the terrorist threat watch list. And I'm floored and flabbergasted as when I look at the number of people that come into this town for the tourism, the tourists who come into this town to for vacationing. We have so many soft spots, and I can't believe that they have taken Orlando off the list. And when they do that, they took the funding off from Orlando. So when I get elected Congress, and not only Central Florida, but I will look at where we should fund for more counterterrorism training, and we want to make sure that not only that the federal level is connected with the state level, but it also should be connected with the local level as well. And we need to add additional counter-terrorist trainings to our local law enforcement officers.
Can I
Thuy,
jump in here?
Really good point in there.
Say a little something.
Hang on a second, Ernie.
What we're talking about is soft targets. Churches, stadiums, and what we're trying to do here. The high sheriff has the authority within his county, and the sheriffs are stepping up because there is a missing link between our government and to do action to stop this kind of stuff. What we're trying to do is set up training for deacons in churches and things like that we can have men inside, outside, and lock the doors, have a emergency response system set up if anything like that happens, that if something happens, it will be minimal. And, we can talk all day long about he should do this and he should do that. We need action right now and set up these programs, and we can do it through our high sheriff in the county. And I hope everybody's listening and they'll start their own program, because we need to protect our citizens and our government.
All right, Ernie, let me follow through with what Thuy said, because Thuy, you were mentioning having funding for Homeland Security. The major problem is that we have at this point, the FBI did not get Omar Mateen because CARE went into the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, Department of Homeland Security, State Department. They went in and scrubbed the manuals, all the training manuals of any words linked to jihad or Sharia law. So now when these men and women are going into the FBI, these other agencies for Homeland Security, for domestic security, for international security, they are not giving the tools they need, and they are not being allowed to ask the questions they need. The Fort Pierce Mosque was under investigation twice, and by orders of the State Department under Hillary Clinton, 67 names were scrubbed from that investigation from the mosque. And because CARE is involved in the training, they go directly into there, telling the agents how to approach a Muslim, what questions they can or cannot ask. And CARE is linked directly to the Muslim Brotherhood, who is our enemy. Our hands are tied. However, there is hope because right now in the 114th Congress, there is legislation sitting before there, H.R. 3892, which is the Muslim Brotherhood Terrorist Designation Act. So hopefully this can move forward, or when you get to Congress, you can help resurrect it and get the information back in those manuals so we can get the training so the agents can do the job, so another Omar Mateen does not slip by and another Fort Pierce Mosque does not exist. And this is what we really need. We need these men and women to be trained and have their hands unbound.
Well, it sounds like treason, acts of treason.
Ernie, let her answer, please.
Ernie.
Go ahead, please.
Ernie.
Yes.
Let me share something first. I think it's more important, and I think, Ann, you touch a little bit on that. But the narrative is so important because right now under this administration, they don't want to admit that there is a terrorist activity. They don't want to. They don't want to admit that there are extremist terrorism or homegrown terrorism, Islamic extremist terrorists here in this country. And if you have heard the interview with Loretta Lynch, I think over the weekend, and I was appalled that she said that, they are going to release the 911 call of Omar Mateen, but they are going to seal the part where he claims his allegiance to ISIS. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I was just floored. It's like, why would you want to not letting the people know that there's a risk out there so we can plan and we can protect and we can defend ourselves? Why do you want to hide the fact that this terrorist had a propaganda? Why would you want to seal that from the American people? But that's what she said that she's going to do. So the most important thing is, and what we're doing today is huge because we are educating community the reality that's out there, the reality that has been hidden by or being hidden by this administration and the Department of Justice.
And it's
You're
been infiltrated. Right. That's why
Thuy, you're absolutely right, Thuy, because Loretta Lynch and this administration could not say the words Islamic terrorists. Instead, they were yelling about weapons of war. You don't need more weapons of war in the public's hand. Oh, yes, you do, because weapons of war are being used against us. These are tools of freedom. However, what is going on with Loretta Lynch? She backpedaled, and she said she will release the full transcripts. However, there is a huge, huge but in it. She took out all the Arabic words, so instead of where he says Allahu Akbar, as he shouts it, instead he said, in the name of God. So she removed anything that sounded like a terrorist comment, and she altered that. So she's altered the transcript, but she is releasing the full transcript according to her interpretation of it. And I can go even one further than that, because right behind that, Senator Bob Casey came out with the Hate Crimes Prevention Act. And Thuy, if this doesn't get your blood boiling, the very first paragraph goes, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, 892 hate groups are currently operating in the United States, up 14% since 2014, and almost 33% since 2001. African Americans are disproportionately targeted, with 190 Ku Klux Klan groups operating throughout the country. Anti-Muslim groups are also growing, up 42% from 2014. And what his bill would do is make anyone who has a, quote, hate crime as they define a hate crime, a misdemeanor, and then under this misdemeanor, you are on the no-fly list and you cannot possess a firearm. Every single Tea Party group would be targeted. Groups like Pam Geller's group would be targeted because they're considered anti-Muslim. There goes free speech and there goes freedom, Thuy. This is what they're doing to us.
Oh, I agree. You know, one thing, though, and we have to make sure that, you know, laws and legislations do have consequences, right? Look at a good example, and I'm going to throw this out there now, is look at Obamacare. I mean, the intention was good, but there's consequences to it, right? So whenever you have good intentions, there's always consequences to follow that. We have to be careful that we're not eroding our constitutional rights. You know, just and I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, wow, what if the federal government decided that, hey, your radio show is a hate group, and that, you know, they are going to tag you as a hate group, and therefore they are going to take away your constitutional rights to bear arms or freedom of speech. So we have to be really cautious, and it's a fine line between protecting one's, you know, rights versus protecting the livelihood and the safety of others. So, you know, there's not an easy answer to all the problems that's happening in our country today, but it's something that we have to really look at. You know, how do we make sure that our rights are being protected, and making sure also that your safety and our safety is being safeguarded.
What's off is that we have the Congress, and their main job is to enact law. We have a president who wants to give out edicts, and you have to wonder why these guys aren't standing up to this president. You know, he acts as if he has the right to make laws which infringe upon our rights and stuff, and you never hear really anything from the establishment Republicans. That has to change.
Yeah, but that's the attitude that they take, and that's why they've found that that's our weak point, that they can come in here and defy our laws and try to bring theirs in, saying, well, they have a right. They're not a citizen. They don't have a right in America, maybe where they come from, but not in America. We have our Constitution. We have our flag and everything. Sharia law does not trump the Constitution and everything, and we need somebody like Trump that don't mind, you know, speaking his mind, to tell it like it is. I don't want him to let off, because America has to wake up, or it's going to be too late.
Thuy, that's why we want someone like you to end up going to Congress. That's why we need you. And I've been putting up in the chat room the links to your Facebook page and your Twitter page. I did try to go to your regular homepage, but the link for some reason is broken. But, you know, Thuy, the majority of people that listen to the show listen to the podcast, so all they have to do is go to the show description while they're listening in and click on your Facebook or your Twitter and get in touch with you. So I'm going to try to give you as much help as you can.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you so much. I know that our webpage is down at the moment, and it should be, I'm hoping that will get back up again tomorrow. You know, when we started our campaign, we just literally started about 2 months ago, and I've been very blessed to have the number of supporters that came out and work on our campaign. I mean, we collected over about 3,000 signatures within about 2-month period. And so, I mean, we collected enough signatures for me to be the ballot. And so that was our first phase to our campaign. And now, you know, we're moving into the second phase of our campaign at the moment. And fundraising is going to be a huge part. Of course, without, funding, we'll be dead on arrival. So we are going to we're going to be focusing on that, and we have a couple of events next month. As a matter of fact, one of the events that I'm going to have is clay shooting event in Polk County, and I'm going to share that information on Facebook as well as my webpage here. And it's promoting my support towards our right to bear arms. So that is going to be on July 23rd. So, if you can help us out, or anybody would want to, come out and join a couple hours clay shooting with us and lunch, or they can just donate to our campaign if they can't come down all the way down to Haines City to join us. But
well, we're definitely going to have you back on the show to help promote all this stuff. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. And you know what? I'm telling you, our country is in a very it's spiraling down too fast. It's spiraling down way too fast. We are living in a very dangerous time, and we have much work to do and a little time to right this ship. And it's really important to elect conservatives to Washington, because even if people who don't vote or don't live in the district, in my district, who can't vote for me, our decisions affect everyone in the country. And so it's important that, we get together and we unite as a team, and we make it strong, we form a stronger voice and to educate our community about the state of our country.
Well, that's a huge amen on that one, because that's what we have to do. We do have to unite the party. And, this backbiting and this trying to divide the delegates and say it's a contested convention. No, it's not. You're bounded. And the rumors and the other misinformation that's flying around, why don't you just sit back and say, this is what we got. These are the two people you choose between. You've got the one that we know is corrupt as all hell, and we've got the businessman that will do whatever he needs possible within the rules to get the job done. Yeah. I'm going with the guy that knows how to do the job and get it done, because he's run businesses, he knows how to pare down budgets, he knows when he's dealing with someone that's honest or dishonest, but he also knows how to feel the temperature of the public. Because, Thuy, this is one of the things I noticed with him. He'll say something completely outrageous. He'll throw it out there, throw it against the wall, look and wait to see what sticks, and then he pairs the message back to one that is acceptable. This is the way the man operates. He is a negotiator. So this is what we want. You want him, when he's dealing with Putin, throw the hardest rock at him, look to see whether it hits him and knocks him out or bounces off, and then work from there.
Amen.
Donald Trump is our presumptive nominee, and I think the Republican Party needs to back him, come behind him, and start working with him now, because through the collaboration effort that we will strengthen not only our party, but also fixing the problems that we have in this country. I mean, when you look at it, the American dream is diminishing and the middle class is shrinking, and our public education is failing our children. And look at the number of jobs that are lost due to outsourcing and insourcing, and the burden of regulations are slowing down our economic growth and development. And look at the overtaxation, over regulations, and lack of access to capital and credit that threaten the viability of our small businesses. Look at the loophole, in our intelligence gathering and sharing that makes Americans vulnerable to the terrorist attack. And the religious liberty and the religious rights to bear arms, the right to bear arms and the other constitutional rights are under assault. So, you look at where we are today, we have to unite if we're going to rebuild and restore the great nation.
Oh, that's true. Now, we do have a caller in on the line. Let me bring him on. He happens to be a friend of mine and a former co-host, and I'm just waiting for, there we go. Cool, Mike, you're on the air with Thuy Lowe, who's running for Florida Congressional District 10. And go ahead with your comment or question.
Well, first of all, thanks for taking my call, Annie, and thank you for getting out there and running for office. We need more people to stand up and to run for office. I guess my question is, why is it, when it comes to when these type of tragedies, whether it's in Orlando or a school, whatever type of tragedies happen, we know what the left's next move is. Why is it so many conservatives, even, outright Republicans, just will not stand up for the Second Amendment as you have, or Justin Amash and several other Congress people? It just seems like over the last week, they just continue to become weaker and weaker and almost like outright sissies in standing up to I think progressivism is a mental disorder. But, I mean, it's just like they won't fight for our Constitution. And I've really enjoyed listening to you. I mean, we need more crusaders for our Constitution running.
Well, thank you so much for your support. And I'd like to, this is my opinion, but unfortunately, many of them are thinking about their next election. You know, there may be in a district like mine that is minority, Democrat-leaning district, or moderate-leaning or what have you. They're thinking about their next elections, and they're not thinking about educating their community on what's happening out there. And so we need to get rid of them. And we, meaning the voters, need to get rid of them. If they're not supporting, if they're not protecting our safety, or if they're not contributing to the economic prosperity of our community, then it's time for them to go. Because you can't be a warrior if you are timid of being in the front. You can't be fighting for your community or your country if you're afraid of taking or bear arms and be in the front to fight for what is right. So we need to have people elected where they're not afraid to do these things. And so, action speaks louder than words, right? So when they get up in front of you and they give you these rhetorics of why you need to vote for them again, you go back and you say, you know what, tell me what you have done. Tell me what you have done for you to earn my vote again. And so I think that people, Republicans, we just have to make sure that we're electing the right people to office.
Yeah, the tweet, we're looking at the situation that's going on, and the vast majority of some of these attacks that we've had ended up being children of these refugees or refugees themselves. And here in South Carolina, we've got a huge problem that we're fighting, and I'm looking for the thing that my girlfriend said. Here we have Lauren Martell and another gentleman, I'm going to say his name wrong, Bilba, is initiating a lawsuit, and it's going against Nikki Haley, Department of Homeland Security, what's her name, Ann Richards, who's running this refugee resettlement program, all the way up to the White House, and they're naming all of them in this lawsuit against the refugee resettlement program. Here we see that we have a problem with the refugees. You have ISIS saying that they are infiltrating the refugees and coming over. And we see these attacks, and they're swearing allegiance to the ISIS. We see that they're not being vetted either physically or in their background checks. We don't even know if they're using their real name, date of birth, or country of origin. And we're seeing an increase in diseases. So then rather slowing down this refugee resettlement program and trying to sort it out, you got Hillary Clinton calling for another 500,000 to come into the country. What can we do? What can we do to halt this refugee resettlement program?
Let's look what we've done in the past. What's worked in the past for us. We forgot that this is not the first group of refugees that are coming to America. I mean, look at my background. I was a Vietnamese refugee. My family was airlifted out of Saigon in 1975 on April 30th in 1975, the last day as the communists was barging in and bearing down in the country. And so we were then transported to Guam for initial processing. And then after staying in the refugee camp at Guam for months and months. We then transported to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida for additional processing. And so, I don't think we were afraid. And I remember being at Eglin Air Force Base for months. And my dad was commenting that, you know what, he's afraid that if our family couldn't get sponsored, then we may have to be sent back to Vietnam. I mean, our future was uncertain if we didn't have people who sponsor our families. And so why is that, and we came to this country, right? I mean, my family and I came to this country because we want an economic opportunity. My parents were looking for better for education for us. We didn't come to this country with the idea that that down with America or bringing our country down to its knees with economic issues. We came because we want to contribute and we want to assimilate and we want to be Americans. And so and I'm sorry, so going back, so we came to, and I love this country, and so looking back where we came from and how we got here to what the new immigrants or the new refugees that come into this country today, I don't understand why they don't go through the type of strict, or especially today when they're a terrorist, when there are people that are coming to this country with the idea of bringing this country to its knees. And you're only talking about maybe, 1% of the population may be terrorists. But my God, 1% is a lot. 1% is enough to destruct, our entire community, right? And yet they don't think about verifying and qualifying these immigrants before they release them out to, the general population. I would, and if I go to Congress, I would push to have refugee camps like we had before, and people have to be verified. They have to be, we have to make sure that their records is checked all the way back to when they were born, if that's possible, and before we can release them or allow them to be free in our community. And that's what I would do, is to push for confined camps. And actually, I think I really do think the best course of support that we can give to these Syrian refugees is to have camps outside of the fighting zone. Have camps outside of the fighting zone and allowing more military support around their camp zone.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Ambassador John Bolton, in a TV interview, stated that they are not following the proper UN protocol with these refugees, because around the fighting zone, the outside of the fighting zone, is where the initial camps should be set up. And then, if they cannot return or resolve the situation, then they move to a country. They'll move these camps to a country that is similar in customs and ethnicity as the one they came from. So there is no huge cultural transition. And only if the conflict cannot be resolved and these people cannot be returned home, which is over a series of a number of years, not something that lasts only a couple of weeks or a couple of days, only then do you then disperse them to countries that are willing to take them in. This is not being done. They're being shoved down the throats of countries that are ill-prepared for them, including the United States. And here we have it where they're bringing these refugees in. They're, as we said, not vetted medically, nor their bio background vetted, on top of which we're not told where they're being placed. And the community that is being placed will now bear the burden of providing for them housing, welfare, Medicare, education, food stamps, Section 8 housing, all of this, and plus teaching them English as a second language. The local community will bear that burden. And in the end, each individual refugee gets something in the area of $17,321 per person, and yet our military veterans are still homeless on the street. And to add insult to injury, the Senate just passed a bill where they scale back federal job preferences for veterans. So if you're a veteran and normally you want to move into another position within the federal government, you would have preference because you are a veteran. You gave all for our nation. They took that away from them. And the next step is they'll take away federal hiring preferences soon. So, Thuy, these are men and women that helped bring you here from Vietnam. These are the men and women that fought for your freedom, which enabled you to come here because you wanted the Americans there. You wanted them to help free your country. And now they're being tossed in the street as if they're trash. What would you do with the Veterans Administration? Go ahead, Thuy.
Well, the Veterans Administration needs to be reformed, period, because, number one, I mean, literally, we promise our men and women when they go overseas to fight to protect our freedom and to protect our livelihoods and to protect our lives that we're going to come home with jobs. Remember that? It hasn't that long ago that we promised these men and women that there will be jobs for them when they get home, that their family will be taken care of, while they're gone. That didn't happen. That was a false promise that we made to our veterans, and it's time that we need to hold ourselves accountable and make good on our promises. There is a shame that these men and women, they went off, they fight for us, they put their lives on the line, and they come home, there's no jobs for them. A lot of them are homeless. There's no medical help for them, and they have to fight them to get medical services. One of the things that I would, of course, jobs is going to be a huge issue that I'm going to be looking at for not only for our veterans but our community and specifically for our veterans. And the other thing is healthcare services. I would want to expand their healthcare services where they can go to the doctor of their choice. Wherever they want to go, they have insurance. They're protected and they have insurance, and we're going to give them insurance. I would like to give them insurance to get the best health care that's available out there for civilians. So they should have the same health care opportunities as well. And job training. If for whatever reasons, if they need, actually not even job training, education. If they come home and they feel like they need to move into another level of profession, and they don't have the current education or current applications or education background, they should have the ability to go back to school, and we need to take care of them and give them every opportunity for them to survive when they get back here in the States.
Amen.
So,
Annie, can I ask one more question before we go? I know
all right,
we're short on time.
Yeah, we're down to our last 7 minutes, and I'm going to have to close off.
Okay.
So go ahead,
Just
Mike.
a quick question for the candidate. And I say this to everybody. I've loved listening to you, and I am so glad you're out there. As we oftentimes have, if elected, what kind of promise do we have that once you're sworn in and some fat cat puts his arm around you and says, Thuy, let me show you how we do things around here, that you would not become part of the establishment fat cats?
Well, if you look at my background, right, we came over this country with nothing but the clothing on our back. And I didn't speak any English either. I think I only knew 2 words, yes and okay. And so within a couple years, I became the president of student council of my high school. I was elected as the friendliest girl in superlatives. And, and when I couldn't find a job, I started my own business. Over the years, I built up on that business, right? So I'm a fighter. I don't take no for an answer easily. And if and today I'm running for U.S. Congress because I'm passionate of what's happening in our country today, and I am ready and stand to protect and defend our constitutional rights and our lives I want to restore this great nation, the nation that has given me an opportunity to live the American dream, and that's why I'm running for I'm running for Congress. And yes, I agree that the first 2 years I'll be the newbie up there, and of course probably people think that they're going to be able to take advantage of me. But I can tell you something, Val. I'm going to Washington because I want to make sure that I'm giving opportunities for my community, for our state. So I will be pushing for issues. I will be pushing for issues, and I will be pushing to close loopholes. I'm sorry. And I'll be pushing to close loopholes. I'm sorry, it's my phone. And so I can promise you that I have a mission and I have a passion, and the only reason why I'm going to Washington is to make sure that I deliver on my promises, and that is to take care of our community and our country.
Well, Thuy, I want to thank you for joining us. And as I said, people can find you in Facebook by going to Lowe for Congress, number 4. There's a link on the show page. They can catch you over on Twitter, and hopefully soon you'll have your loweforcongress.com website back up and running. And I welcome you to come back again on the show. Curtis, you can work on dealing with that, bringing her back. I want to thank Ernie for joining us on the show. His link to his new website, Cube International LLC, is on the show page. People can catch him there. Cool Mike, thank you for calling in. You will be co-hosting the show on Friday with Curtis because I am having some surgery. So, Thuy, good luck, and we'll be talking soon.
Okay, well, thank you, Ann, and I'll be praying that you will be recovering soon after your surgery. And please keep me posted. Let me know how that's going. And thank you so much. Thank you, Curtis, for inviting me. Thank you, Ann, and it's nice to get an opportunity to chat with the others as well. And I really appreciate the time today.
Oh, it is our pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I want to close the show off with something a little bit different, Curtis. This is Lee Greenwood, and he walking through a hallway where there was a baseball series going on, and the Army chorus was there. So I'm going to finish the show off with Lee Greenwood. So let's sit back and enjoy this.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I've worked for all my life, and I had to start again, just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, oh, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, time we stand and say, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.